Hello, hello. Jax West from Stephen Avery Project, Justice with Jax, MAM Gossip. We are kicking off today with an Ask Jax Anything. What the hell? That can't be right, can it? Sorry, I'm doing math, which is not fun for me. 5, 2, 4, 5, 5, 4, 6, 4. All right. So, right before going on here, I was looking at how many files we have left in the Brendan calls. We're not on, this is an Ask Jax Anything, not a Brendan calls, but still adding it all up. We have 83 calls left. Dun dun dun. All right. So, hello, Miley and Sonia and Bryce and Elizabeth. Math, 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 math. Yuck. Go for it, Miley. Throw out some trivia questions. Okay, sorry. So, and hello, Teresa. We haven't done an Ask Jax anything specific video in a little while. So, figured pop on here today and y'all can fire away with whatever questions or whatever you would like to discuss. Um, Maybe after we do this video, we'll go into some Brendan calls or not. And we won't do Brendan calls until Wednesday. Don't know. It's up in the air right now. Hello, Sabra. What's to talk about? I think there's two things that have been happening in gossip that I want to address. What bones are babies born without? Oh my. I am not smart enough for that, Miley. Kneecaps. Yeah, the only thing I know is, the soft spot on their head, but that's not bones missing. Hello, Debbie. Today's at 1 p.m., but Wednesday I won't be able to start until 2 p.m. my time, so an hour later, because now I have a regularly scheduled work call that is 1 p.m. on Wednesdays. So Wednesday will be an hour later than today. Sonia asks, is there anything in the Brendan calls that's really interesting? And hello, Rachel and Brittany. I guess it depends on you, on what you find interesting. I find it interesting to see, how can I word this without being a total asshole? Um I find it interesting to see that Brendan wasn't being emotionally supported or I guess physically supported by his family. Um I also, a thing that always stands out to me that we announce in every call is every time internet is mentioned since they tried to claim there was no internet. And Bryce making me laugh here, better not interfere with our time. um I have found it interesting at the times where Brendan has really let you know. I mean, and these things we all know, but that just the things that were said to him and how he was manipulated by Fassbender and Wiegert into saying things that weren't true just so they could get Steven. So I have found those interesting. Just be an asshole, it's easier. Yeah, it is. So I have found it interesting. I do see there's somebody, what is his name, like John Captain or something like that, who's taking a couple of, I would say, shots at me in gossip. It's one of the things I wanted to discuss. Is us going over the Brendan calls going to get Brendan out of prison? No. Is it going to get Steven out of prison? No. It's not intended to be. And people who want to listen to him, listen. If you don't want to listen to him, don't listen to him. There is nothing I can do that is going to free those men. I wish there was, but there's not. I still fully encourage all of you people doing the research on the case and the holes you have found. And, but you doing that is not getting them out. You submitting that to Kathleen Zellner, maybe that will help their case. But that's not my purpose here, because I know there's nothing I can do to free these guys. Because again, if I could, would have did it 4 years ago or whenever it was that Making a Murderer came out. And I see my face frozen on here. Okay, now it's moving again. So going over these calls are for you all, not to the benefit, the true benefit of Steven and Brendan. It's not to their detriment either. This is a closed group. It's not on Stephen Avery Project that anybody can have access to. It's just, for true supporters. That's what it's for. Stephen and Brendan, quite honestly, don't want my help. Right? So, but bottom line is there's nothing I can do to help them. I also want to address Corey Zipper. You are submitting so much stuff to gossip that the moderators are not approving and are not going to approve. It doesn't matter how many times you submit it, it's not going through. So, you need to slow your roll with what you're submitting here. You are welcome to be going to all the different websites and Twitters, which I have been shown where Corey has talked shit about me on Twitter. You're welcome to go to all those other places. We're not going to share those places things here in gossip. It's just not going to happen. So stop submitting it here. Or we're going to end up just stopping you from posting, period, here. You have your theory. That's great. But you seem to be trying to really force that upon others. And I know you're saying that you're currently talking to Steven and claiming that Steven is believing everything that you're saying. Well, frankly, there's no proof to that, first of all. Second of all, I've been told you have posted on Twitter that you are recording your phone calls with Steven. I already told you once not to do that. You could be the cause that Steven will not be allowed any more phone calls. Those calls are not allowed to be recorded. And by you recording them and uploading them to Twitter, you're putting all of his phone calls at risk. He could lose the privilege of talking to people, especially during this time of COVID, where he can't get in-person visits. It's the only thing he has to talk to people. And you are putting him at jeopardy by recording his phone calls and uploading them to Twitter or to YouTube. Really not digging that. To me, that is making you look like you're not a supporter at all. And you are just showing it's about you and what you believe happened. Doesn't matter if you've talked to Steven and Steven has told you it's okay. You need to talk to Kathleen Zauner. So I wanted to put those couple of things out there. We can discuss it further if anybody would like. I'm not in gossip very often. It's really Christopher who is doing the brunt of the work, as I'm out and about doing work in my real life. So, but I see when people submit things, I don't necessarily even look at it. Sorry. But like I said, I've been really, really busy. But again, the places that I have seen that have put things out about this case, or they're straight up just wanting to be a YouTuber to make money, to try and get enough followers so they can monetize their YouTube, so they can start making money off of it. It's not what gossip's about. I'm sorry. So you're free to go visit all those pages. We're not going to plug them here. And it's one of those childish things that MAM Gossip is my group, and I kind of say what goes. I know it's an asshole thing to say, and this has been pointed out to me before too, that the group has those group rules or whatever, and there isn't a rule that says XYZ. I also don't have to have something written in stone on that before I can say, that's it, you're just gone. Or I'm not letting that post or that comment remain. So, we here, you can join and go to as many pages, groups, Reddits, Twitters, YouTubes that you want. Those people, I don't care if they like me. Go wherever you like. Doesn't matter to me. The only thing that will matter is if it comes back to me that you're going into those places to then talk shit about me or anybody in this group. So that's the gist of that. So feel free to, if you have a question on anything now today while we're on here, you can fire away those questions to me. If you want to take it offline and don't want anybody to know what your question or concern is, you can send it to me or to the moderators here at Gossip or Stephen Avery Project, and we will get things handled. I also saw recently somebody was bullied in Gossip, and I don't tolerate bullies here. And so I need you all to also help in moderating the group. So if you are bullied or you see a post that is of a bullying nature, please flag that post, report it to a moderator so then we can look at it and handle it immediately. Now, maybe something you're bothered by when we look at, we don't think it's something that we're going to remove. Um, it doesn't mean that we personally agree with whatever was said, but sometimes things are just a different opinion, as long as it's not a guilter thing. Um, we don't have to agree with everybody's opinions here. So we'll leave it up because your opinions are your own. So those are the things that we're not going to remove, but we will remove hate speech. We will remove when you are just flat out trying to bully somebody. I did mute somebody recently, and I've never muted anybody ever, but it was the wrestler guy who then was trying to use this page to get people to donate money to him for food for him. No, not doing that. No, Debbie, I haven't heard from Kim at all. Um, I don't know if she's on social media all the time lately. Even back from when we did our rally, she was pretty much quiet. So, I think it's been really hard for her over all these years, and really hard that the way the family handles this case, and they've kept her away from Steven, cut off her contact to him. So I think for her, it's also better if she isn't posting or saying anything, because it just gets her in trouble, especially like if she's in this group. And Carla, everybody say hi to Carla because she'll be watching. Hi, Carla. Um, um, it's used against her if she has anything to do with anything connected to me. So, yeah, I haven't heard from Kim at all. I think the last time I had any kind of contact with Kim was on her birthday. I texted her and wished her a happy birthday. I think that was it. I haven't heard from her, and I haven't heard from Courtney at all. Um so um but I always keep going. Yeah, Debbie, it's got to be difficult with her being Steven's cousin. So I totally get it. I'm here for her if she ever needs us, because I feel horrible for her as well on what she has had to endure. And it took a lot for her to tell her story publicly. Steven's case, where it is now, just nobody's asked me as of yet, but people always do. It's as usual. We're waiting to hear what the court says, and there's no time limit on the court. So, waiting that out. Sonia. Um, Brendan, as we all know, his case is in a tougher spot than Stevens due to his false confession. So, Brendan's pretty stuck. So, everything is dependent right now on, in my opinion, Kathleen Zellner. So, but we're waiting for the court, and the court has no deadline. We also have the Melissa Kaluzinski case that Kathleen Zellner is the lawyer for. I haven't found it, but Melissa is supposed to have a hearing any day now, and we don't know the date and haven't been able to find a date. And the Dr. Oz show, whenever it premieres in September, is going to be doing a new episode on Melissa's case. Melissa, I email with Melissa quite regularly, and the email I got from her this morning said that her TV hasn't been working well, and she has had it for 8 years, so it's time for a new one. There is a family member that is going to give her a little bit of money to go towards the TV. And so I told her in the email I sent back to her this morning is, well, let me know what you need for the TV and I'll get you the rest of the money for, for her to have a TV. So, but it's hard to get Melissa to let me give her money and do things for her. So if I hear from her on that, and it's something you want to help with, I'll post something about that once I hear back from her. And then you can donate money directly to her commissary if you want, or if it's something that you're not able to, depending on where you're located, because I don't know if it's like harder for people out of the country to donate to her canteen or whatever. Then you can put it in my GoFundMe and I'll transfer it into her account. But there's a chance she's going to tell me she's good and she's got it. But and her birthday is next month too. So, and she's gearing up for, it's her birthday and it's the Halloween month and she's so into Halloween and all things scary. So, and there's so much to watch on TV at that time, that's scary stuff that she loves. So I absolutely want to make sure she's got a decent TV. Melissa is, they're letting them off of the so severe lockdown they've been on, that she's working and she's going to be working 7 days a week. And so it'll get her out and about. And then, so her prison is down more southern Illinois. So her weather is warmer than mine up here in the, Chicagoland area. But, but it's been really nice these past couple days. And this whole week is supposed to be gorgeous. And so she thinks she's actually going to be able to go outside and enjoy the weather. So that's great. And then also it means that she's not stuck in this room. They don't have air conditioning, obviously. And, it's not so hot and miserable. So, and then my friend who's a state representative, she did reach out to Melissa's prison, and like two of the things that Melissa told me that the state rep was really concerned with is that the employees at the prison are not wearing masks, and that the people who are infected with COVID are being housed in just a regular medical area. So like they're in a room with a woman who's got stage 3 cancer. And it's like not all sicknesses are the same, and you can't have somebody with COVID next to a cancer patient. So, so she has reached out to somebody who is now looking into that. So hopefully that will get handled quick. Is the water fixed? Yes. Last time she only had cold water. I don't know, Teresa, because also they're not, they haven't been able to leave their cell as much. So I don't know. She hasn't said anything about the water. I'll have to ask her. Or, y'all are welcome to send mail to Melissa as well. What is with her case? It keeps postponing, not sure if right word. Well, what's happening with Melissa's case right now is COVID. COVID keeps pushing her date back. So that's been the difficulty with her case, because when was she supposed to go to court first? Was it like June? I mean, it was forever ago. So COVID has royally screwed things up. So, but when her dad called me a couple weeks ago, he wanted me to find, because also her case would be at the Chicago court for the next round. So he wanted me to find out if there's anything on Melissa's case set on the docket. Is there a date for anything, even if it's a status hearing? Hello, Rue. We're talking about Melissa Kaluzinski. She is another client of Kathleen Zellner's. Melissa has been in prison for 12 years, I believe, for a murder she did not commit. You can go to Kathleen Zellner's website. I believe it's KathleenTZellner.com. And then you go to, how does she have it? Highly publicized cases, I think is how she describes it. And so Melissa is listed there. And so then on that page, Kathleen has links to articles on Melissa's case. There is 48 Hours did 2 episodes on Melissa's case. One is called The Fight for Melissa, and the other one is Blaming Melissa. So you can watch those 2 48 Hours episodes from Kathleen Zellner's page. Kathleen Zellner is in those episodes. And then we also had a hearing for Melissa a year ago. I think it was a year ago. And the court let there be a camera in the courtroom and film it. And so Kathleen has that uploaded on her page as well. So you can go to KathleenTZellner.com, go to Melissa Kaluzinski. Melissa was 22. She worked in a daycare, as did her sister Crystal. Melissa was in the toddler room. This boy, 17 months old, I think he was, Ben Kingham, was in one of those bouncy chairs on the floor. And Melissa turned and looked at Ben, and he was turning blue and foaming at the mouth. When the boy got to the hospital, he was pronounced dead. Melissa was taken in for questioning, so was Crystal. They were taken to 2 completely different police stations. Other people who worked at the daycare were brought in. Melissa was kept in the room for hours. If you're new here, I'm very bad at math and in remembering numbers, so I'm not even going to throw out a number on how many hours Melissa was kept. Melissa is like Brendan, with a lower IQ, and she is very susceptible to things. So they questioned her for hours and finally got her to say that she dropped him. And then they had her show an example with a doll on how she dropped him on the ground. Then at the trial, medical experts had testified that they saw a crack in the boy's skull and blood. And the x-rays, as Sonia just pointed out, the x-rays that the state submitted to Melissa's defense, which was not Kathleen Zellner at that time, were completely blacked out and you couldn't see anything. So Melissa was found guilty and has been in prison ever since. Her father is somebody who will not rest until his daughter is freed. And he pokes and prods and digs everywhere. Was able to get the real x-rays. When you look at the x-rays, and you can Google Melissa Kaluzinski x-rays, because there's one specific picture in Google Images where you can see the black out one on one side and then the actual one on the other. And so when you see Ben's head, it looked like a giant light bulb. You'll also see there's no crack. So the people who testified previously that they felt a crack in his skull and they saw blood lied on the stand because there is nothing to show that. This boy, and there are records to prove it, weeks prior to this incident, when Melissa didn't even work at this daycare was a chain and Melissa was at a different location at that time. The boy came to the daycare with a giant bump on his head. And the daycare, to protect themselves, says, oh, wait, no, he can't come in here. He needs to see a doctor. There needs to be a doctor's note, blah, blah, blah. So the kid went to a doctor to be looked at for this bump on the head, and the doctor said all was well. Even though the kid had been lethargic, the kid had thrown up. So now when you see the real x-ray and you see this kid's head looks like a giant light bulb, his poor little brain has been swelling all that time. And it's gone undiagnosed and uncared for. And the boy, unfortunately, dies from this pre-existing condition. And with this being a child, this was in Illinois, Rue. Lake County, Illinois. So with this being a child's death, obviously people want somebody held accountable for it. The daycare doesn't want to be held accountable for it. The parents don't want to be held accountable for not looking into why their child was lethargic and throwing up. So everybody's then going to point their fingers at Melissa, who was in the room and alerted people when he was turning blue and foam was coming out of his mouth. And Melissa had asked for a lawyer, was ignored. They still kept her in that room. They yelled at her. They called her names. They really abused this poor girl when she was in there for questioning. Melissa is like the sweetest thing ever. So there's one Melissa. There's another Melissa. Is that all I've got? And another Melissa. Melissa. So I tell people that Melissa's case is like Stephen and Brendan's case in one. You know, with the corruption and the forced false confession, the low IQ. Melissa, like Brendan, is like the sweetest thing and can't hurt a fly. And it's really, really sad. Yes, Rue, she has a low IQ. Yeah, low IQ. She's got doesn't want to be in trouble, isn't going to make waves, you know. If you watch, because that's another thing, I don't know if it's on Kathleen's website where you can watch her interrogation. You can also Google Melissa Kaluzinski interrogation. There are times that Melissa did stand up and did things like you'll see with Brendan when they get him to say whatever, and then as soon as when he's with his mom, he takes it all back. You have it with Melissa too. She takes it all back right away after they get her to confess to something she didn't do, and she had a puppy, Oreo, who died last year. Her dog, so Melissa wasn't able to get free and spend any time with her dog now. But so like Brendan wanted to go back to class, thought he'd be going back to class. You'll hear Melissa in the interrogation wanting to get home to her puppy. YouTube. Thank you, Sonia. Melissa, the whole time she's been in prison, has been a stellar inmate, is in no trouble whatsoever. Everybody there loves Melissa. Her nickname in prison is Ski, for the end of her name, Cal Uzinski. When I was able to visit, I haven't been able to visit since COVID, but the officers will say, when is she going home? Everybody knows that Melissa is innocent. Everybody. She doesn't get herself involved in any drama in the prison. She, keeps to herself and likes to work. She had the same. They typically move jobs around. An inmate doesn't have the same job for a long period of time. Because you're giving that opportunity to everybody, and it switches around. But Melissa had done such a good job with where she was that her boss didn't want to lose her. So Melissa stayed in that job a lot longer than she would have, and the only reason she's switching jobs now is because she wanted a change. She had put in for the change before COVID. Changed everything on what they're doing. Melissa is truly a good person. And once she's free, she is going to do great things, and care for others. Melissa's last name is Kaluzinski. Kalusinski. Kaluzinski. You can also look at the videos here in MAM Gossip. And I don't know if I did it on the Justice with Jax YouTube. But we have watched Blaming Melissa and Fight for Melissa together and discussed the same like we do with the Brendan jail calls. And I think I did it on Stephen Avery Project. I've done lives with Melissa's dad, Paul Kaluzinski. And there's actually one live we did where Melissa called her dad. And we put it on speaker. And then supporters were able to ask Melissa questions and she was able to answer. Obviously, she can't talk about her case. And we got clearance with Kathleen Zellner before we did that. But, you can't ask about the case, but you can ask her about her and, what her likes are. You can, what it's like to be in prison, all that kind of stuff. Something you could discuss with Melissa if you do want to write to her is she's like a whiz at making things, food. And I've told her when she gets out, she needs to make a cookbook. And her dad is actually an exceptional cook. And so I've said that her and her dad should do a cookbook together, or they should have a cook-off, so that her dad makes something and then Melissa make it like how she would make that in prison, using stuff from commissary. Hello, Matt. Something that Melissa is really proud of that she makes that people like our green beans that she soaks and all this stuff. Yeah, it's really creative. Miley says Melissa likes butterflies in The Walking Dead. Yes, monarch butterfly is her favorite butterfly, and it's something she talked about The Walking Dead in the email today because the email I sent her is I had said that they announced there's going to be a spinoff of The Walking Dead that's going to feature Carol and Daryl. So, thank you, Maz, for sharing the link. Melissa's also a brilliant artist. She is really good at drawing portraits. There's a a really beautiful picture of her parents, and she doesn't trace it. She uses things. Hello, Snooze. She uses pictures of things as a reference, and then will draw that picture. So she has drawn this beautiful picture of her parents, and she'll like draw things and send it to her parents as gifts because she still wants um to be able to celebrate holidays and birthdays and such with her parents, and so she draws some things and sends them to them. And something that she draws too is Melissa is very into her Catholic faith, and so she draws those praying hands that has the rosary wrapped around the hands. And then she draws butterflies, and then she loves dogs. So yeah. So Melissa is somebody I always say, Melissa has my heart. She's really a truly special girl. Um, and her case doesn't get the attention that Stephen and Brendan do due to, making a murderer. But Melissa and countless others are in prison for things they didn't do. And it's just as horrible as what happened to Stephen and Brendan. Hello, Colette. So I welcome you all to look into Melissa's case. And if you have any questions on the case, you can send my way. I am happy to answer whatever I can on Melissa's case. Cooking with love. Oh, I like that, Sarah. Um, and as soon as we find out the Dr. Oz show, I'll post that so you guys know about it. And I believe the last one, so the last Dr. Oz show had on her dad, Paul, and then also was Melissa's first attorney, who he still continues to work with, helps Kathleen on the case, even though it's now Kathleen's case. So that was on the Dr. Oz show, and I Facebook lived it, I believe. And we discussed at the time. Matt, if you wanted to contact with me personally, you could send me an email to official Stephen Avery Project at gmail.com or justicewithjax@gmail.com, whichever is easier for you to remember. Or you can send me a Facebook message. But just know, for people who are not my Facebook friends, that's when sometimes a Facebook message goes into that other thing and you're not always notified. So I've had that sometimes where something's been sitting there for a long time and I never knew it was there. Where do you send letters to her? My little post-it note isn't here on where the address is for Melissa. But I do have a picture that's posted. Hold on, let me see on my other screen if I can go into let's go, computer being slow. And new Facebook. So I had to go into media. And now I'm scrolling through pictures. In there. All right, here's a picture of Melissa. Okay, so if you were going to write to Melissa Kalusinski, that again is Kalusinski, you would then have to write her inmate number underneath it, which is R88005. Oh my God, and now my Facebook just went down on that page. And that happened the day that we were doing the last Brendan calls on this computer, that my second screen, so I could have Facebook on one screen, and then when I put Facebook on the second screen, it wasn't working. Hold on, I'm trying to reload the page. Official Stephen Avery Project at gmail.com. Yes, Matt, that is correct. It's not loading on there. Dag nabbit. I don't know if anybody else who's listening, you can go into media, into the pictures, and then there's a picture of Melissa. Up there it is again. Okay, let me see if I can type it on here. Melissa Kaluzinski. Then her number R88005 at P.O. Box 1000, Lincoln, Illinois 62656. Technology. So that's how you could send a letter to Melissa. P.O. Box. So her inmate numbers are 88005, P.O. Box 1000, Lincoln, Illinois 62656. So send her a letter. She loves it. She loves hearing from y'all. Our prisons suck. Our system sucks, Sonia. So, and then on the other side of that picture, the Melissa picture, it has Kathleen Zellner's address if somebody wanted to send a check for Melissa to Kathleen, but you don't need to do that. You can, here, let me see if I can get it on this other page on, okay. I don't know if this link will work. This is where you would set up an account. I don't know if that link will work since it's so big. But it's the gtlconnect.com. So you would have to, on this page, you would have to create an account with the prison system. And then you would select, after that, once you've set up the account, what inmate you want to be connected to. And it's not just here in Illinois. You can set it up for, but see, all prisons are different. So like Melissa, you can send her an email, but Stephen Avery, you cannot. Stephen has to put you on a list and approve you to send him emails. So you would have to look up on there after you have set up an account for Melissa Kaluzinski at Logan, so you would have to be selecting Logan Correctional and Melissa. And then from there, you would be able to set up something so you could be sending her emails. And that's also a way where from having that account, you could put money directly into her commissary from there. So, and so if you try that and you have problems, you can let me know, but I'm not good with this stuff, so I won't necessarily be able to help you on that. And I believe it's people from other countries, when they have tried to donate to this account, straight up, it won't let you. So if that's the case, you could always make arrangements with me, and then I'll put it in Melissa's account for you. Emailing is really cheap. I think it costs me $4 for 20 credits. And so to send an email is a credit. So whether or not it's me sending the email or Melissa sending an email. No, I do not know the cost of a TV. Miley, I'm waiting to hear back from Melissa on it. So when you send an email to an inmate, you can attach credits to it. So every time I send an email to Melissa, whether or not it's me writing it first or me responding to an email from Melissa, I attach a credit to it. So when Melissa responds to me, that I'm paying for that as well. Melissa can do it without, because she's got her own commissary account that she would be able to do it. But I don't want her spending out of whatever money she has to respond to me. So I always attach a credit. But like I said, I believe it's $4 for 20 credits. Yeah, I don't think I answered it before, Miley. Um, so so I know you can do that with Melissa. Um, I don't think you can email either Brendan or Steven. They're Wisconsin. Okay, Matt, I'll look for it when I'm all done with all of this. Um, Melissa is in Illinois and Steven and Brendan are Wisconsin, so it's different systems. So, but yeah, feel free, write to Melissa. Like we said, she loves all things scary, so you can talk to her about that. She loves dogs. You can talk to her about dogs. Very into her faith. So if you're practicing Catholic, you want to pray with Melissa. She would like that as well. What else does Melissa? The monarch butterfly she likes. Um, what else? Um, Shark Week. She's fascinated by all things Shark Week. Um, Haunted places. So, but also you can write to Melissa and tell her about yourself and tell her what you like, and maybe that um is something that Melissa will be interested in as well, and you'll have a new topic to talk to her about. So, but anything that can take their minds off of what is going on for even if it's just 5 minutes. Yes, Sonia, I'm really emotional about Melissa. Um, I've advocated for several wrongfully accused, and Melissa is by far the sweetest, nicest, most genuine. Um, I really care for her, and is somebody that I will protect viciously. So like upon her release, because Melissa's going to have a hard go of it no matter how she gets out. So will Brendan. Um but Brendan will have it because he's famous. Um Melissa will have it, especially locally, because she is accused of murdering a child. And there's always going to be people who think she's guilty and a baby killer. So I would stand in front of a bullet for Melissa. No, Maz, you can't send stamps or stamped addressed envelope. Nobody can. Hello, Kelly. Because it's another way that the prison tries to make money off the inmates. So they have to buy it from there. I know it's sucky. So the only thing you can do is put money in her commissary that then she could use to buy envelopes and stamps or whatever. I don't want to fall down that rabbit hole of bitching about how much inmates are taken advantage of by this system. Yet there'll be people that'll be going, these people are getting free room and board and living on the taxpayer dime. All right, then trade places if you think it's so swell. And you'll see that they're not even given frickin' deodorant. You know, um, soap, shampoo, all that stuff, they have to buy themselves. Laundry detergent. How do you buy that stuff yourself? If you're able to get a job at the prison, because not every there's not jobs for everybody, and not everybody is able to work. So if you do work, you're not even making minimum wage. And if you don't work, there's the burden on your family. Stephen and Brendan, Stephen has worked, but for the most part, those two don't work. So the money for them to do things has to come from somewhere. Melissa wants to work. Oh, I wish. I am lazy. So lazy. Melissa is regularly washing when she was able to, pre-COVID. She was regularly washing her room with bleach, the walls, the ceiling, everything. Her case is her dad told me it would be the federal court is where she's at now. See, I'm really bad at snooze. It's almost like a numbers thing for me that I can never remember where any of these cases are at, where the court is, what the level is, all that stuff. I get really confused on all of that because I don't pretend to be a lawyer. I'm not basically a lawyer. I don't pretend to know any of that stuff. But so we are waiting for a federal court in Chicago to rule on the last time Kathleen submitted something. And it was so long ago. And I don't even remember for sure what it is that they're trying for. I can't remember. I mean, and I was at court. And Kathleen was there and 48 Hours was there. Erin Moriarty is the person from 48 Hours that covers Melissa's case. She flew in for it and filmed Kathleen for it. So 48 Hours at some point will be doing another episode on Melissa's case. So I'm sure that footage will be used then. Yeah, Sonia, she's got loving parents and loving supporters. Yeah. I mean, her dad is just like, if you've ever watched Dream Killer, the Ryan Ferguson case, another Kathleen Zellner case, he's like Bill Ferguson. Every day. And Paul is retired and he is also he's got a lot of medical issues. So every day is something Melissa for him. Something he's working on, something he's doing. The guy just does not stop. Melissa's mom works and is supporting the family. And Melissa's mom she's not on social media. She doesn't want to talk to press. She doesn't want her picture taken. Melissa's mom is, really quiet and private. But she's very supportive of Melissa. They talk on the phone twice a week. And pre-COVID, when their visits were allowed, her parents would go and visit her like once or twice a month, which is really hard for them because, for one, again, the mom works. So they have to go on the weekend, and then it's such a long drive, and Paul's got horrible stuff going on with his back. So that drive to the prison and then sitting in the horrible chairs at the prison, cripples Paul. And Paul is supposed to walk with a cane when his wife's not around. There are times that he doesn't walk with the cane, and Cheryl would severely punish him for that. Does her dad have a free Melissa car yet? He does not have a free Melissa car. He does have a free Melissa sticker on his car that we made for him. And he's got a big banner in his yard that we made for him that is always in the yard to free Melissa, that he has used at times when he's done protests and marches for Melissa. And Kathleen Zellner made the original banner, and somebody sliced it up in Paul's yard, cut where Melissa's throat is. And so then we replaced it, and then somebody cut that one and we replaced that one. So Paul's on his third banner. But it's in his yard 24/7. Actually, it might not be 24/7 now. I think Cheryl, his wife, started making him take it in at night, but I don't know if they still do. That's a lot of work to take that down every night. Um, yeah, you can see Paul one live I did with him, because Paul will call me and want me to come out, and that he's got an idea and he doesn't tell me what it is, and it's a funny video. So he wanted to do this video. It's done outside by the Melissa banner in his yard, and he came out of the house, me not knowing what he's doing, and he came out dressed like Macho Man Randy Savage from WWF wrestling days. Oh yeah, if you remember him. Um, and so he's got a feather boa on and things tied on his arms, and he talked like Macho Man. Um, yeah, it's goofy, but that's Paul. Paul is somebody who I have heard so many stories from both Paul and Melissa, or together, because there's times that Paul and I have gone and visited Melissa together, where Paul torments his family by doing things to scare them. So, that again that's where Melissa gets her love of Halloween. Paul used to, prior to all of his medical issues, would decorate and make like a haunted house in his yard, in his garage and stuff. And it's something him and Melissa would do together. So he's scared his family their entire lives, doing various things to scare them. And Paul is always goofing off, and it's hard at times. You don't know if what he's saying is really happened, or is he messing with you, you know? And maybe it's going to hurt him someday, like the boy who cried wolf. But he loves it, and he's got such a tight special bond with Melissa. Um and it's something that Melissa is really looking forward to doing, is when she gets home, to decorate for Halloween with her dad. And she's told me stories about the times her dad's taken her to haunted houses. And what's really funny is I ran a haunted house for years. And so one of the haunted houses they've gone to is mine. Jane is new to the group, watched the Netflix series, and it was so upsetting the way these two men have been in prison. Can I ask how you got involved with the group? Yes, Jane. Jane says, I have an article I wrote that is up on a website that I'm affiliated with called Free Brendan. Let me see. Or is it on Free Brendan? Might just be easier if and I've posted it a couple times. But it's how I got involved in making a murderer. And what did I call it? I'm looking through my files now. Uh, is it this one? Hold on. I've written lots of articles. It's taking forever to open now. Oh, that's nice to know, Bryce. Yeah, once we're able to finally start resuming visits again, may absolutely take you up on that, since you're down there by Lincoln, Illinois. Oh my God, this document is opening. Nope, that's not the right one. Of course. What did I call it? Get off. Talk amongst yourselves while I get distracted with trying to read the titles of all these articles that I've written about this case. Where is it? Didn't I call it like my making a murderer story? Wait, I called it All right. I'm getting distracted by trying to read this, so I can just go over it pretty quickly. Hey, Cindy. All right. How did I get involved? I've always been somebody who's been interested in true crime. So watched all the true crime shows, read a lot of. I'm looking up here because this is a bookcase above my head that's got true crime books. So yes, hold please. It was December of 20. It was a cold, snowy night in December 2015, right? My boyfriend, when it snows, he's one of those plow guys. So, and I don't like to go driving when we get substantial snow here in the Chicagoland area. So I'm snowed in for the weekend by myself. He's gone. Searching Netflix for something to watch. Come across something titled Making a Murderer. So it turns out that I found Making a Murderer the weekend Netflix put it up. So I knew nothing about it at all. Nothing. So all right, watch the first episode. Yep. This is okay. I was hooked. First episode, couldn't believe what I saw. So going into the second episode, and I'm like, wait, this is the same guy. First episode, he's out. All that. So, because I'm thinking at that point, Making a Murderer, that like each episode would be a different case. But I'm like, it's the same guy. What is happening here? I'm like, oh my God, did he now kill somebody after everything that was done to him from the first thing? So I binged the entire thing. So I watched the whole thing straight through without stopping. When got to the Brendan part of what'd you do to her head, I mean, I was literally punching my couch and throwing a fit. Then when my boyfriend was done with plowing, I'm like, you have to watch this. And so a following weekend or whatever, we binged it because once he started it, couldn't stop either. So I watched it all the way through a second time. Obsession began. I wanted to know everything about this case because I'm like, this is how long ago? Where is this case now? So I did not take what Making a Murderer showed me as, this story's done. It's all tied up in a bow. This is how everything was. I wanted to know it all. So that's when I first found Reddit. And so was reading things on Reddit, Facebook, everything I could do to find out what was going on. At that time back in the Reddit, they did crowdfunding to get the documents. So you can go to StephenAveryCase.com or .org. I never remember which one is which because one is good and one is bad. But so somebody from Reddit was collecting money from people to buy all the documents, to which then they made the Stephen Avery Case website. If you go into donations or whatever it's called on there, you'll see my name on there because I donated money immediately to get all that you could on the case to find out what was going on. From there, it was this guy, Curtis Bussey, he started this Facebook page immediately after Making a Murderer called Stephen Avery Project. And so it was a place that I would go and read things. And Curtis Bussey is a Wisconsin local who knew of the case back when it happened and had always believed Stephen was innocent. And he started visiting Stephen in prison after Making a Murderer, everything. And so it turns out that Fassbender and Wiegert were going to be speaking at a law enforcement convention that was one town over from me. I'm in Lisle, Illinois, and it was going to be in Naperville, Illinois. And so Stephen Avery Project had made a post about it and said, if we organized a protest of this event, would people be interested in taking part of it? And so I messaged Stephen Avery Project and I said, I am one town over. I will help you however you need. So Curtis responded to me right away. And so the first thing he asked me to do is to go look at the space so we could see what we would be able to do protest wise. So I went to the location, I filmed it and sent it to Curtis, so we could see where a protest could be. I knew nothing about running a protest at that time. I called the local police department and asked them what the rules were for having a protest. And the police department actually was perfectly lovely in dealing with. So there were no issues with us doing that. And Stephen Avery Project made an event for this protest, and it kept blowing up bigger and bigger, to which then Fassbender and Wiegert canceled their appearance there. So the protest never happened. Then the next thing that happened is that Strang and Buting were doing their Making a Murderer tour, and they kicked it off in Milwaukee. So I bought tickets to that, and Curtis from Stephen Avery Project also got tickets for it, and he also got tickets that he gave to Barb and Carla and Scott and Stacy and Richard Mahler, the juror that was left the jury, Stephen's jury. And so we all went to that event and met up with each other there and talked and such. And then I became friends with Carla. And things have just gone on and on from there. And so this would be an absolutely way too long story if I continued going. But Curtis, I became part of, so there's an organization called Injustice Anywhere. And Injustice Anywhere is founded by this guy, Bruce, who is married to a girl that I grew up with. Her house was behind my house, so I've known her since like second grade or whatever. And so I knew her husband because I'm Facebook friends with her. So I knew her husband had been very involved in the Amanda Knox case. So when I was starting to organize that Fassbender Wiegert protest, and I don't know anything about it, I messaged her and I said, hey, would your husband and I knew her husband from high school, but I didn't really know him. So I'm like, so would your husband, could he advise me on this protest that I'm helping do, because I don't know what I'm doing. And so then that's how Bruce and I started talking. And then Bruce, his organization Injustice Anywhere, wanted to cover Brendan's case. And so they wanted to start a Facebook page called Free Brendan. And so he asked me if I would run it, which I run to this day, but I don't really do anything with it any longer. But I'm just an admin there. That's not my page. And then there's also freebrendan.org, which is the Injustice Anywhere website on Brendan's case. And so I would write articles and such for it. So anytime I went to Strang and Buting speaking, I went to Nyrider and Drizzen. Yes, I organized a protest against Kratz that he was going to be speaking in my area on his book. So I organized a protest for that, which it was really funny because then Drizzen messaged me and he asked me if I was going to the event. And I'm like, oh God, no, I'm not going to give Kratz any money. I'm going to be outside protesting. And Drizzen requested that I go into the event. And as he said, he wanted me to go in and do what I do, meaning he wanted me to write an article. on the event like I've done with everything else. So then I bought front row center ticket to hit to Kratz book event, but still continued to organize the protest that would be outside, and Kratz canceled that event. So, but from my time in knowing the family, I had visited the salvage yard, so I've walked the Pam Stern Path of God. I've been to Steven's trailer, to the garage, Cuss Road, all that. I have visited with Dolores, and it got to a point though that Curtis, who founded Stephen Avery Project, wanted out because any of you who have been around for a while, sweaty, sweat, you will see that if you do not kiss the ass of Stephen's family, they attack you. And Carla, Stephen's niece, did some very horrible things to Curtis. Horrible things. And he wanted out. And that's how then I came to take over Stephen Avery Project. And I've been the main target then of the family ever since there's, it's no longer Curtis to kick around. Now they attack me. And so we had Stephen Avery Project for a while, and then I started, hello, header. Then I started this page, MAM Gossip, because, all right, like we had already talked about earlier, I advocate for Melissa Kaluzinski. I want to talk about her case. But if I post it on Stephen Avery Project, even though her lawyer is Kathleen Zellner, the people on Stephen Avery Project get bitchy. And and we'll get people here in gossip that'll do it too. What does this have to do with Stephen's case? Well, it has nothing to do with Stephen's case, but there are a lot of other people who are in prison for something they didn't do. So, and they need as much love and attention. Sonia, the family was saying he had sent a dick pic. Sonia, he did, and I actually have it. He did send a dick pic. He was catfished. Carla had somebody catfish him. Now, he's at fault because he was a married guy. He shouldn't be sending a dick pic to a chick. But Carla set him up. So they're both in the wrong. I have the dick pic. It's still on my phone. So with what Carla did to Curtis, it broke up Curtis's marriage. His wife left him. But they then got back together. She was pregnant for the second time. And so Curtis, to save his marriage and his family, and because of everything that Carla was doing to him, it was best for him to just leave this case altogether. Yeah. There is a Facebook support page for Melissa. It is like the official Justice for Melissa page. Is it a biggin? It is curved. Where is the picture? Let me scroll through my pictures. It'll be way up because it's such an old picture from years ago. I'm not going to show it to you. I gotta be getting closer. I have so many freaking pictures. Still scrolling. I can show you this one. This is a picture of when Paul was doing the Macho Man thing that I was talking about in front of his Melissa banner in his yard. uh, Oh my, I thought it was close. I guess I was nowhere near close when I thought that. Still scrolling. Here's my picture. There's Sweaty Sweat Sweat when he was ahead of me in line at Brendan's hearing in Chicago, you know, so he was 3 people in front of me in line. So I gotta be getting closer. Here's a picture of Jeff when he was giving the Avery Salvage a new sign, taking down the old one. Why is it blurry? Taking down the old one that we then kept. This picture is from where the van that Stephen was selling towards where the bus stop is, that you can't even see the bus stop. That's how far away the bus stop was. That there's no way you could have seen it. And then this is the reverse angle. This is from the bus stop towards where the car was, that there was no way you would be able to see. There's no way the bus driver could see that. No way. Here's the picture I took to show you of how close the fire pit is to Stephen's crappy particle board garage. The fire pit was, you know, right here. If there was a fire tall enough to go over this garage, that garage would have gone up. Here's when Jeff made this thing that we thought was a really cute idea to send a flat Brendan around to supporters, and that supporters would be able to take their picture of them with a flat Brendan and then post it in everywhere that Brendan had traveled. And since the family hates me, they made it out like that was a horrible thing of just showing where Brendan can't go. So dumb, but it was a very cute idea that supporter asked that we do. You don't care about that one. China, are you on here? I don't know if I saw China. Here's at my haunted house. Here's my Pennywise in the sewer. Still scrolling. Another thing we did is I ran a beer garden at a fest. And I had also booked the bands there. And so, another thing we had people do is we wanted them to hold up a hashtag I am Brendan Dassey. And so I had a guy from one of the big bands that had been in here. I had him pose with the I am Brendan Dassey. That's another guy from that band. It's a band called Seventh Heaven that's big here in Illinois. Um, oh, I took people once to, God, I always turn this the wrong way. That's Kathleen Zellner's office. So I showed them Kathleen's office. Mm-mm-mm. Am I getting closer? Here's a sign. This was the sign that I made for Brendan's rally, the first one that I organized. So I had made it and then got kicked out. Um, but I did bring this sign and gave it to Barb when I was still friends with Barb. Um, and Barb had sold a picture of Brendan's bedroom, and you could see my poster in it, and I couldn't believe she still had it. So that was the sign that I made for Brendan for the rally that and I took a picture that I had my dogs posed with the picture. Mm-mm. I gotta be getting closer. This picture is Barb and Scott at the rally. They are wearing shirts that I made and holding a sign, well, not I, that Jeff made, and a sign that Jeff made at the first rally. Mm-mm. It's so blurry. Me and Buting at his event in Chicago. Here's the ring that Carla stole from the first rally, as well as these fly fishing things that Carla stole from the first rally. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Cool picture that Jeff made for Brendan, the complete and innocent Brendan Dassey, with him on John Cena's body. Me at the dumb sign. The first shirt Jeff ever made for the case. It's a picture of Steven saying, "Don't be strange." And then it says, "Think it can't happen to you. Think again. We all live on Avery Road." This is a shirt that was made and only given to the family. There's the dick pic. It's not a bad size. And it's curved for her pleasure. All that to just find that picture that I'm not showing you anyway. Woo-hoo. Why do you save a dick pic? Because you never know when it's going to come up in conversation. um, Not showing it, Bryce. So, Nope, not showing the dick pic. So there you have it. There's a um okay, well, Miley, what is your biggest regret regarding your time with Stephen Avery Project? My biggest regret would have to be after this last time that Steven cut me out, and I was really pissed off about it. And I made a post saying I was going to now expose things that Steven had told me that um, I was not doing, not making it public before. That I was like, I'm not going to protect this guy any longer. And so I was mean and an asshole. So that would have to be my biggest regret in this entire thing. I mean, there's been so much that has happened that has been bad. You know, friendships that were made and broken. Um, I have shed tears. You know, like when I did all this work to organize the first rally, and then what Carla did in stabbing me, everything she did in stabbing me in the back, and all the things she did there, I will admit I cried. It was so upsetting, all this work and how much I care about Stephen and Brendan's innocence, and that I thought Carla was my friend. Um, it hurt a lot. Um, but I don't regret that. I don't regret um having to go through that. I don't regret having to go through all this torture that's been done to me, because it's nothing compared to what Stephen and Brendan go through. But I do regret that one instance, because I am an asshole. I fully admit I am an asshole. I am petty. I am childish. I am vengeful. I'm all that. But that one time when I let it get away from me and my word vomit, or when I'll say it's my mom coming out of my mouth, because I've grown up with my mom can be really, really mean. And so there are times that I say things, and as it's coming out of my mouth, in my head I'm going, holy shit, that was really fucking mean. I shouldn't say that. And I just can't help it. I say too much. I'm an asshole. Um, so I really regret that. Cause I played right into their hands. And, you know, so then Carla, hi Carla, who's watching this. Um, yeah. And Sonia says Carla's obsessed with me. Hi Carla. Um, Carla took that screenshot and she ran with it to show that I'm an asshole to Steven. Um, so I shouldn't, and I did never, you know, because Steven has told me things that I still to this day have never revealed. I am never going to say or do something that is going to hurt Steven's case. I won't do it. Not that he's ever told me anything that would hurt his case. So before guilters, hot guilters who are watching this too, before guilters try to say, "Ooh, it's because Steven told me he was guilty." No. Steven is 100% the entire time, has always maintained his innocence, and his story is always consistent and stays the same. But I don't want to do something that will hurt his case. You know what I mean? And I said some mean, nasty things, and I shouldn't have done it. So that would be my biggest regret. Um, Jane asked, do you ever get scared that someone will come after you because you do publicly speak out and you said the family doesn't like you? Jane, I've actually been threatened many times. So one instance I can tell you when I was threatened, and I have posted the screenshots for them before. There's this guy named Brett Condon. He's on Twitter. I don't believe he's really on Facebook, that Facebook kicked him out. So he's Boston Brett on Twitter. So he threatened me once and said something about how I'm not hard to find and he's going to be sending something to me, blah, blah, blah. And I was friends with Barb at that time. And Barb was really concerned about it, but I was not. Barb made me file a police report. And so police report was filed. And so that kind of ended it. And then Brett, for the last year again, he tweets stuff about me all the time. But did I ever think anybody was truly going to come here? No. I'm an activist on many different things. Here's an example. All right. And I try not to get my politics on here. But after the Parkland school shooting, there was going to be a gun show a couple towns over from me where they were going to raffle off an AR-15. So I scheduled a protest. From me scheduling that protest, these pro-gun people were after me so hardcore that they went as far as to find out where I live and then would post pictures of my house showing that they've driven past my house. Was I afraid? No. I guess I'm stupid. But I'm also, Jeff, who I live with, is an NRA instructor with his concealed carry. So Jeff has a gun on him legally at all times. We have cameras all around our property. You're not going to get on our property without it being recorded. And actually, the room I'm in right now has the monitor and the DVR. The DVR records any movement. And I have a pit bull. So it's come on over. I have had people, for another thing that I regularly protest for, they would take pictures of my car and my license plate. It's always just been talk. Nobody's ever done anything. It doesn't mean nobody will at some point, I guess. But no, I've never truly been scared. But I will say, my speaker just dropped. I do make sure when I go to Wisconsin, I try not to, when I go up to the salvage yard or when I go to do Facebook Lives that I take you all around Cuss Road and all that stuff, I try not to, for people to have way advance notice that I'm going to be there. And even when we did that rally in July, I gave one of my sisters my complete itinerary on where I was going to be, so if something happened to me. I didn't really think anything would happen to me, but my sister knew where I was going to be from what time to what time and all that. And then if she couldn't find me at any of those, then she would know something happened. So I did take that precaution, I guess. Um, okay, Andrea, I'm just reading your thing now. I think I answered your question. Um, I did, Sonia, I did really like Carla at first. Carla's been here to my house. Her and her husband and one of her daughters were here. I've been to Carla's house. I love Carla's husband and her daughters. Her son's an asshole. Um, I really liked her. Um, Whatever. Yeah, Debbie, I've got no use for the guilty innocent group. Oh my God, Sonia, Brett's only friend on Twitter. Mallory would bite their balls off. As Mallory is barking downstairs right now because I think, yeah, I've got a retention pond that's across the street from my house. And on Mondays, they come and cut the grass there. So if you hear dogs barking, it's because Mallory's barking at the guy cutting the grass at the retention pond across the street. Um, but I've had horrible things happen to me. So has Jeff. Um, um, what's her name? I always just call her Psycho. Lisa Zatkowski. Um, she went after me so hard and still does to this day, where she even reached out to my local police department and the Illinois State's Attorney's Office, falsely accusing me of stealing money. And the end result of that was she was told I did nothing wrong and she needs to stop because she's the one harassing me. She still does it. Still post stuff on Twitter, like, again, claiming I've done this or that, even though she's had me fully investigated by my local police department and the state's, the attorney general, and was proven wrong. Oh, yeah, Maz. Yeah, you don't see the dogs anymore now that I'm up here. Paula. Sorry. Yeah, Paulo is somebody who was at the rally. We had fun at that. There was just a few of us that were there. We knew going into it during COVID that chances are it wouldn't be a big turnout. So the dozen or so of us that stayed at the hotel, it was fun. We are planning on doing it July next year. Yeah, Debbie, I totally get people being nosy. That's why I say you're not gonna be punished in this group for being in a guilter group. I get it. I get people's fascination with it and wanting to see what they post. I get people wanting to be in the family groups. I get it. I don't have a problem with that at all. Um I've done my time. I guess I would say, that I was in all of those groups once upon a time, and I'm only in this group now, and even that I don't read in here most of the time of stuff because I've just kind of moved on from the case, and nothing's really happening with the case right now. So I can't be like, because it does seem like guilters are more involved in this case than those of us who believe in innocence. Every single day, they got to be talking about this case and doing this case. Um, can't. It's not my life. Absolutely when something happens in the court or something, oh yeah, we'll discuss it and cover it. But just my everyday isn't going to be this case. Sonia, I have a cat. I'm actually allergic to cats, but the cat we have is all my dogs are adopted rescues. The cat is a rescue feral cat. So it's an outdoor cat. We have a detached garage that a cat door is cut into. And so the cat lives in our garage. We heat the garage in the winter. And then I feed her every day. But the whole point of the feral cat is to, well, for me, is to make sure mice don't get in your house. You know, as soon as I saw a mouse in this house, it was, we need a cat. So, so my cat Mabel, yesterday, so somebody meets me and we're going to work for the day, you know, so she meets at my house and then we're going to be leaving. And, she walks up to me because, you know, she parks here and then we're going to be getting in my car and leaving together. So walking over towards my car and we're chatting there at first, and I was like, wait, no, walk over here, let's go over here. It's because my cat Mabel, who was maybe 5 feet from where we were standing, had just killed a chipmunk and was eating it, and I heard a bone crunch, and it's like, oh my god, I can't. I know. I get it, the circle of life and all that. If I'm out there and I catch her killing, you know, trying to kill a chipmunk, I try to stop her. I don't like anything being killed, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to be a part of it. It's horrible. But yeah, so that was yesterday. And now the chipmunk's head is still sitting on my driveway right now. She ate the rest of it. And her name is Mabel because I always want to have two dogs, not just one. And so Jeff and I were adopting dogs. We knew we were going to get a male and a female. And so we wanted to come up with names even before we got the dogs. And so we came up with Mickey and Mallory, which is from the movie Natural Born Killers, Mickey and Mallory. And then I wanted a little dog. So then we adopted a little dog. And so since we had the two dogs that were both M's, we named her an M name. So her name is Matilda, but we call her Maddie. So then when we adopted the cat, her name was Sable. So we just changed it to Mabel. You know, to just continue with the M theme. Yeah, Maz. Thank you, Maz. I will answer anything. That's why I say to my detriment. I say things I probably shouldn't say. And I tell y'all, I got nothing to hide. You can fire away with anything. The only thing that I did not say, and it's because I was asked not to say, is when I took over Stephen Avery project from Curtis Bussey, he had me pay him. It was around Christmas, you know, so it was the end of November that we were negotiating or whatever. And so he's going into Christmas with, you know, a wife and a child on the way. And also he believed that the Facebook page Stephen Avery Project was worth a lot of money because you would get people who message the page constantly saying, I'm going to pay you this much money for your page and all this stuff. So he was believing that hype that you could, you know, that you're going to like sell a page and get rich off of it. So he wanted to make money off the page. And so I did pay him. It wasn't a lot of money. And I don't remember numbers, like I've said, so this is not me being an asshole and just not telling you, but I want to say it was like $400, but I could be wrong in either direction. But considering what he was trying to get at the beginning, you know, it was huge amounts he wanted, and so paid him $400. And so he asked me not to tell anybody because he was already dealing with so much bullshit from Carla. And, you know, that they were accusing him of trying to get rich off the case, which, you know, that's what Carla does, is steals money from people. So I understood. And so he put me in contact with Steven. You know, he went on one last visit with Steven and said, I'm the one that's going to take over Stephen Avery Project from here on. and gave him all my contact information. And so then the first time Steven called me, the first thing I said to Steven was, I'm not looking to date you. Because I know that's a lot of the girls that he talks to. It's, he's looking for true love, and I wanted him to know that that's not my interest in him whatsoever. And then in full transparency, I let him know that I paid Curtis for the page. And at some point, he has told Carla. And so then Carla has tried to use that against me. And so has some of her people, like Facebook's terms of service or whatever, is you can't pay or something like that, blah, blah, blah. So they try to twist that around again to make me look like a bad person. But it's like, so which is it? Am I stealing money or am I paying money to be the biggest support page for Stephen Avery? So I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. And honestly, I only paid a portion of it, the money that went to him. The moderators that are here on Stephen Avery Project, everybody pitched in, everybody but one, who thought that she was running everything, yet she never paid a dime for it, and she's long gone. So it's not like even I was paying $400. It was the other moderators contributed to the payment for it too. I really want, Maz, I really want one of those hairless cats. I love them. But see, I used to run a haunted house. So, and it's not because of being allergic to cats. I'm allergic to cats, but at one time I had 13 cats in a one-bedroom apartment. When you live with them, then you're, at least in my allergy, then you build up the immunity to it. It wasn't a big deal. I just think they're cool looking. I want a hairless cat, but they're so expensive. Sonia, I get, somebody just emailed me the other day. I constantly get these things for Stephen Avery Project where they want to put ads on the page and they're going to pay me for ads on the page where they're saying they're going to pay me $500 or more a week. I've never done any of it. I never believe any of it is real. I don't know. I mean, I guess if I knew something was for sure, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, I'm accused of stealing money, so I guess might as well give them something to really be mad at. But I would use that money for good. So if I made something off of, well, for one, if it's on Stephen Avery Project, since it has Stephen's name, I would absolutely give money to Stephen, just like we did for the rally. Money went to Stephen, and we gave money to Brendan, even though nothing has Brendan's name on it. But we gave money to Brendan that neither one of them has acknowledged. But since Stephen Avery Project has Stephen's name, and if money is made on Stephen Avery Project, but I just don't know how I would do it because of, all the people that are manipulating Stephen. So I don't know if, you just give it to Kathleen Zellner, or if you just put it in an account to give to Stephen maybe when he's out. I don't know, but it's nothing I really have to think about because it's not happening, so it's that, cross that bridge if you come to it. All right, so we've been on for almost 2 hours now. Way too long, and my mouth is starting to hurt. I've got a temporary crown on my very back bottom tooth. I go in 2 weeks, I think, is when the real one is made, done, and then they'll put the real one on, and instantly the back of it cracked and broke out, so it's got these jagged pieces on there. That I bought wax Febrezes to try and put on there, and I know I could just go back to the dentist and have them fix it, but it's well, they already did this to begin with and it broke right away, so are they really going to be able to do something on this temporary thing? So the longer I talk, the more, scratching on that broken fake tooth back there. So I'm going to call it a day. We're not going to do any of the Brendan calls, but we are scheduled to do Brendan calls on this coming Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Time. So it's turning 4 o'clock Central Time. So 2 hours earlier than right now on Wednesday is when we will go over the Brendan calls. And like I said at the beginning of this live, I had gone through and counted them all. Oh, I did write down the total. 83. We have 83 calls left because we will be on file 39. So from 39, there's 51 files total, and I clicked on each one and wrote down how many calls were in each file. So we have 83 calls to cover. We have listened to 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 455 calls. People in America have amazing teeth. I have crooked teeth that I never got braces for. I don't really care. So, my son, we got braces for him when he was young. He wore braces because my son's teeth are really bad. His parents had really bad teeth, so he was kind of stuck with it. So, my son got braces, the regular metal braces, wore them for 2 years. Then his orthodontist took them off, and my son's teeth were all straight. We had wanted him to get like a permanent retainer, and they didn't do it. And then you're stuck with having to rely on your teenager to put in a retainer all the time, and he did not. And his teeth just went crooked again. And so then he wanted braces again. Now it's not covered by insurance because you've already paid for braces. And he didn't want regular metal braces. He wanted the Invisalign, which is twice the cost. So we let him get Invisalign with the understanding that we were going to pay for half of it and he had to pay the other half. My son did the Invisalign for X amount or whatever, and teeth got straight. And then he stopped wearing them, and his teeth were all crooked again. So if you're not going to follow through with it, your teeth are just going to get crooked, and that's a whole lot of time and money. So who cares? So yeah, my teeth are, you can't really tell on here, but I've got buck teeth, so these stick out way further. I got a tooth down on the yeah. My teeth are all crooked, and I really don't care. I'm able to chew stuff, and that's all that matters. And this tooth that broke, that I have the temporary crown on right now, was the last old school filling I had, the metal filling. So now in my mouth, it doesn't, you don't have any of those, of the metal. It's all white. Woohoo! Me again, TMI. I tell you guys all way too much stuff that many of you, I'm sure, don't even care about. So, Wednesday, we will be at 2 p.m. Central Time because we can't do it at 1 because I have a work call that is now scheduled every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. But that job only lasts through the election. So, it's only, the next 50 days. So Wednesday we'll get back to the Brendan calls. I had 3 jobs. 1 job is now done, so that frees me up some. So can definitely do it this Wednesday. Well, I say that, but you never know what'll pop up. But right now it's scheduled. Christopher has made an event for it. So RSVP to the event, so maybe you'll get a reminder. Christopher also tries to post in all the different places, reminding you all when we're getting close to it. We're always looking for any development in Stephen's case and Melissa's case, if we hear anything on Melissa, all that. We bring it to you as soon as we got it. Don't, Debbie, I don't do that. 8 p.m. in the UK on Wednesday. So, it's 3 p.m. here right now. Why did I say before it was 4 p.m.? It's 3 p.m., so 1 hour earlier from right now on Wednesday is when we'll be going live. So whatever that time is for you. Don't try to make me do math. Other time zone things, I can't do that. So, all right, I'm out. I'm probably gonna go lay on my couch and do nothing now. So, have a good day, and we will talk on Wednesday. Bye, Carla.